The Detroit Lions defense is ahead of the offense in training camp so far. Why is that?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We got ourselves a Wednesday edition, everybody, of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you. Thanks for being with us, making us your first listen, and of course, checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Thank you to our everydayers, those that watch or listen to the show daily. Appreciate all of you for checking in, whether it's on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Please subscribe, or a listing on Apple, Spotify, again, wherever you get your podcast. We got a bunch of audio to play for you today. We got to talk about Za Darius Smith, who's in the news once again. Brad Holmes was interviewed this morning on the 97.1 The Ticket morning show and asked about Zadarius Smith. We will get into that. Colin Cowherd with some stupidity, and I'm a Herd fan, but this was dumb. Discussing the Lions and their first preseason game, to play or not to play the Lions' two top rookies for tomorrow night, or I should say Friday night, in Atlanta. And offense ahead of the defense in training camp, or I should say offense trailing the defense. Defense ahead of the offense right now. We'll give you some reasons why right here on Locked On Lions. Locked On Lions for today. Brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Friday night, Lions at the Falcons for preseason game number 2, 7 o'clock on Fox 2. Colton Pouncey, who covers the Lions for theathletic.com, on a couple of podcasts as well, including one with Nick Baumgardner, which we love, will join us tomorrow on the show. We'll get a full 25, 26 minutes with Colton tomorrow and get his thoughts on everything going on down at training camp. All right, Lions practice today, once again, a pseudo scrimmage again. Tomorrow they will travel to Atlanta, and then Friday night you've got the game against the Falcons. We'll get into like some of the rookies and some of the decisions that Dan Campbell's going to have momentarily. But the theme of practice today and what everybody is talking about is how well the defense is doing, how they're flying around the football, how they're getting pressure on the quarterback. And again, they don't hit the quarterback. Jared Goff, Hendon Hooker, Kyle Allen, they're in red jerseys, all right? But they do scenarios. They do 11 on 11. They do 2-minute drill. They do some 7-on-7 stuff. And the defense is shining right now and doing a better job than the offense, which usually is the case, all right? With that being said, talk to some people today, and here's the biggest concern. And we can talk about the edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, old bit siren, okay? We could talk about Alex Anzalone's contract. We could talk about backup quarterback. We can discuss backup safety. Who's the number 3 safety? We can talk about who's the number 4 cornerback. After Amik, Terrion, and DJ Reed, who's it going to be? But the bottom line is this with this football team. One of the reasons why this club has won 3 straight years, all right, they were a winning team in 2022. They won 9 games. In 2023, they won 12 games. In 2024, they won 15 games. And the reason why this team has always been good and has gotten better is they've built what? Offensive line. The offensive line here has been built. It has been tough. It smashes people. It mashes people. It run blocks. And it finishes games. Frank Ragnow's absence and retirement hurts. Graham Glasgow looks like will fill in, be a veteran presence there. Will it be as good as Ragnow? No, but it should be okay. You've got a left guard in Christian Mahogany that hasn't really played much. All signs point to him excelling so far in camp. Taylor Decker has been hurt. Now Dan Skipper has been hurt. I want to get to that in a second. You've got a new right guard in a rookie in Tate Ratledge, and you've got the best right tackle, in my opinion, in the NFL, in Penei Sewell. But this offensive line is not gelling early in camp. and the depth issues that they've had, all right, have also kind of shown up in the scrimmages. Now, the offensive line the other night in the Hall of Fame game, at least the starters did all right. Right? Dan Skipper played well. There were some others that did all right as far as some of the backups. Giovanni Manu is a problem. And for a lot of you, you're going to say, well, wait a minute, he's not even really going to play anyway. The Lions traded up last year into the third round to take Giovanni Manu as a developmental piece and a guy for the future. If he has to play at any point, and again, he's the third string left tackle right now. Taylor Decker is coming back from injury, is now off the PUP list. Thank goodness. Dan Skipper battling a little bit of an injury right now, got hurt, turned his ankle in the Hall of Fame game. But Manu struggling. And when anytime, and this was noticeable today, there was some frustration with Mahogany talking to Manu, coming off the field a couple times because the young kid just wasn't picking it up. He has not been good. And today, blitzing safeties, blitzing linebackers, coming in on Jared Goff. We all know that's the weak spot for Goff. If he gets pressure, especially up the middle, all right, and it's in his face, he occasionally will throw the ball to the other team. So while I have so much faith in Taylor Decker once he's healthy and Penei Sewell, it's that middle of the offensive line that is still a massive question mark. And when you read about and you listen to me say, man, the offense is behind the defense, it's because the interior of that offensive line is not ready yet. And I want to talk about Tate Ratledge in a minute, needing to play in one of these preseason games. Dan Campbell isn't sure yet, but these guys have got to get some reps. I think Mahogany will be the best of the group of the interior guys. Glasgow at center is going to be fine. All right. But the Lions for the last few years have had better than fine. They've had elite play at that spot. And you can draw up all the trick plays. You can get the ball in the hands of Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown and David Montgomery and Sam Laporta, and the Lions will do that. But if you cannot protect Jared Goff and you can't get chunk yardage on first down to set up the play action passing game that has made Jared Goff, let's be honest, elite the last couple of years. Very, very good. Top 5 MVP candidate last year, finalist. You're going to struggle. Jamison Williams could be streaking down the field. Jared Goff has to have some time to throw the ball. And I don't mean to just be picking on Manu. There's other guys not performing either in these scrimmages. All right. I'm just using him as an example. Struggle bus for him today. And they've got to get this figured out. They've got a month. All right. A month from tomorrow, your Honolulu Blue and Silver Gladiators will be heading to Curly Lambeau Field in beautiful and plush Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin, take on the Packers in the opener. By the way, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, the whole crew going to be on the call for the first game on CBS. That's a CBS game, by the way, Lions and Packers. So that's where we're at. All right. Everybody's talking about the offense struggling. It's because the offensive line has not been up to par when they've scrimmaged the Lions defenders. Now, good news for the Lions. They're getting push up front. All right. Tyleik Williams flashed today. DJ Reader has been flashing. Guys are getting to the quarterback. That's great. Aiden Hutchinson, great. All right. And we know, look, Aiden Hutchinson eats up left tackles that have been in the league a long time. So you know he's going to dominate a guy like Manu. But it's something to reinforce again that hopefully by September 7th, this team will have it. Tracy Wolfson, by the way, I was just forgetting about on the sidelines for CBS, but hopefully that this offensive line gets it together by the time these games matter. All right. I'm a Ratledge fan. I think he's going to be good. All right. Brad Holmes talked about Zadarius Smith today with Jim Costa and John Jansen on the 97 Won the Ticket morning show. We will play you that audio coming up next. For those of you wondering if Zadarius Smith is going to be here soon, we will tell you next what Brad Holmes had to say, Lions GM, right here on Locked On Lions. And the podcast today brought to you by our friends at Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of year. NFL kickoff is close, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. This year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. All right. This year, me and Locked On Lions were playing on Yahoo Fantasy, which I have before. And you should too, whether you're a first timer or a veteran making your millionth league. All right. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years. The updates that are rolling in this month are wild, but all in the best way. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. The season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can always still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. If you want to be our call of the day, we'll likely have one for you coming up either tomorrow or maybe on Friday. You can log in to speakpipe.com/Dairy Podcast page, speakpipe.com/Dairy Podcast page, and you too can leave a voicemail and be our call of the day. All right. Question always has been on the minds of Lions fans. Will Zadarius Smith join the Lions at some point here soon and add to the edge rushing room? Brad Holmes today did a spot on 97.1 The Ticket this morning, joining Jim Costa, the pride of Central Michigan, and John Jansen, the pride of, where did John Jansen go to school? I have no idea. Never talks about it. The University of Michigan. I kid. And they asked, Costa asked Brad what the latest is with Zadarius Smith. Take a listen, courtesy of the Cricket.
I don't understand. Zadarius Smith, not an elite edge, right? I know that was a different conversation. Zadarius is still out there. Is there interest on your side?
Yeah, look, Zadarius did a lot of good things last year for us, and we said we're going to keep in contact with his agent. But, it's not – everything's not just one-sided. Zadarius has expectations. The team has expectations. So sometimes it takes a while for those things to get on the same page, especially a guy, that's been in the league as long as he has. I'm sure that, I'm not saying that he doesn't want to be in training camp, but, if he misses sometimes. So, there's obviously still interest there. And, we've been keeping in touch.
All right, there it was. Brad Holmes talking pretty openly and honestly about Zadarius Smith. That's one thing I love about Brad. I love about Dan Campbell. These guys don't duck questions. They don't not answer questions. And Brad flat out said, yeah, there's interest on both sides. What Brad didn't want to say, I'll say, Zadarius Smith doesn't want to be in training camp. He's 32 years old. Why does he want to be out there in 90-degree weather sweating in training camp when he knows if he stays in shape, come a couple of weeks, he'll be back here? I truly believe the Lions are going to give him a contract and he will be back on this team. I truly believe it. Nobody else has signed him. Nobody else has added him yet. I think his agent is probably telling other teams, unless they're blowing Zadarius away with an offer, that he's going back to Detroit. He wants to be here. His girlfriend is here. All right. And remember, Zadarius Smith's contract was such that his base salary this season was $1.5 million, but he had bonuses of $8.5 million, like roster bonuses, that the Lions just could not afford. So they cut him. But if they agree to a restructured deal and give him $3 million base and maybe a bunch of incentives, he'll be here. I truly believe this is going to happen. Holmes didn't want to say, I'm not going to say Zadarius doesn't want to be here yet, but everybody knows it. So great stuff from Costa to ask Brad Holmes about it. And look, you can never have enough edge rushers. We know about Marcus Davenport and the injury-prone specimen that he is. Josh Pascal's not back until September. Onzarique's gone for the year. Elaine McNeil out till November. Right? Lions have been a little bit thin along that defensive line. Pat O'Connor just got hurt. They like moving guys inside and outside. We're going to find out this weekend if other guys step up and perform in this preseason game. But adding a depth piece like Zadarius, I think, is a no-brainer, and I do think it will happen. So Brad Holmes did not deny it. He did not say we haven't been talking. There's interest there. Smith wants to be here. It's a matter of, I just think, when this takes place. But I can tell you, you're not going to see him in any preseason games. And my guess is it would be between the last preseason game, the 23rd against the Texans, and the opener on September 7th. So that's Brad Holmes today talking about Zadarius Smith. But they love what Marcus Davenport has brought to the table so far. And that's a guy they think is going to have, if healthy, a big season. Question is, of these other guys, some of these UDFAs and the Coopers and the Ukwus and some of the others, who steps up and can get to the quarterback. But they've had a lot of injuries, especially on the interior of the defensive line. Lopez has been out and others. So we'll see about that. All right, to play or not to play. This was a question asked today of Dan Campbell before practice. Will Tyleik Williams, the team's first-round pick, or Tate Ratledge, the team's second-round pick, play in the game Friday night against the Falcons? And like I said before, Dan Campbell didn't brush it off. Dan Campbell didn't say, I don't know, ask me tomorrow, or we'll see on Friday. We'll make a game time decision. He said he's not 100% sure or not whether or not those guys are going to get an opportunity to play on Friday night. I'd like to see them both. Now, understand this. You don't want your starters to get hurt. You don't want anybody to get injured that is really of significance on your roster in a preseason game. All right, the Lions are playing an extra preseason game here due to the Hall of Fame game. Everybody else is playing 3, except the Chargers and the Lions are playing 4. With that being said, Tyleik Williams, I think, needs NFL reps. I think he's got to get out there, start along that defensive line, and get his feet wet so they can see what he can do and also how he can get a sense of what the speed of the game is all about at this level and how different it is from college. And this is a guy that plays with an immense motor, a lot of speed, great lateral quickness and all of that, played in the Big Ten. But I'd like to see Dan Campbell give Tyleik Williams a series. And I also think Tate Ratledge needs to play. And I also think Tate Ratledge needs to play some center on Friday night, if in fact they allow him to. Because if Glasgow gets hurt, and I know they've got other guys, Neese and Equigan and others that could play, but Ratledge is the center of the future. Giving him some reps at center in a game like Friday night is not a bad idea. So I'm against, there's no reason a Jahmyr Gibbs or a Sam Laporta or a St. Brown or a J-Mo needs to be out there. No reason, right? You still have to field a roster. You still have to play. You still have to put players on the field, right? And there's 91 guys out there. But I'd like to see Ratledge and Williams on Friday just to give them a little bit of run and then get them off the field, right? Falcons are not even going to be playing Penix or Cousins, right? We know the Lions, Jared Goff's not going to play. Hendon Hooker's going to start the first half and Kyle Allen the second half. Hopefully we see better play from the backup quarterbacks this Friday night because they were abysmal in the Hall of Fame game. Again, first preseason game, it was July football. I'm not putting a ton of stock into it. Somebody that put a little bit of stock into it, and I'm a little bit surprised at this, Colin Cowherd on his Colin Cowherd podcast with John Middlecoff. And of course, the Herd is on Fox and Fox Sports 1 every day with his radio show. But on his podcast the other day, he was discussing the dichotomy between the Lions and the Bears and Ben Johnson going to Chicago and what it means for Chicago this season. And then he started kind of railing on the Lions a bit and talking about how he believes they're going to take a step back here in 2025. Now, look, they won 15 games last year. I'm anticipating a step back too. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't think this team's going to win the division. I think they are. But I want to play this audio of Colin Cowherd discussing the Hall of Fame game, the Lions and the Bears. We'll do that. We'll do that for you coming up next. All right, everybody, Locked on Lions today, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Summer sports are here in full swing. Whether you're talking about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following all the action. Hey, if you had money on the Minnesota Twins today against your Tigers, you were a winner. Why not make it a little more thrilling, though? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. All right. A lot of my friends all love that FanDuel app. They track their favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with daily new promotions and fun ways to bet. Whether you're placing a same game parlay or watching a bet right into the ninth inning, today wasn't. Twins torched the Tigers. FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. Hey, if you were betting on Gavin Williams to throw a no-hitter today, you were close. My boy was 2 outs away. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, so look, we know this. There are a lot of hot take artists in the business here, all right? Whether it's Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith, Nick Wright, any of these people. Colin on his podcast today was talking about the Lions and the Bears, and his take on the Hall of Fame game was ridiculous. This is courtesy of the Colin Cowherd podcast.
Two things to think about, too. Detroit looked awful in the Hall of Fame game. They looked unorganized. So when Detroit pulls back this year, and the Hall of Fame game aside, we don't know.
I mean, it's their threes, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. But they did look disorganized. Let's say that Detroit looks like they miss Ben Johnson. That will empower Ben Johnson. So if Caleb struggles and Detroit pulls back, people will say, it's not Ben Johnson. Like, Detroit's this powerhouse. Detroit's been the most discussed offense in the league because of how creative they were. If Detroit pulls back, we think they will. The division's better, and we don't think Ben Johnson's fill-in's Ben Johnson. Then all of a sudden it empowers Ben more. And then if Caleb struggles, it's just – and there's already questions. And also, Caleb is talented enough that even if he didn't work with Ben, it wouldn't be a disaster. I doubt very seriously. He'd make plays. And you couldn't, and my take is, over the next 2 years, you could move him and get a good pick. Like Caleb's the kind of guy that he'll have enough tape. Like, you can look at Bryce Young and just say, he's too small. He's not going to last. It doesn't. Caleb's thick, big arm, moves. I mean, Carson Wentz kept getting opportunities. Like, Caleb's the kind of guy that Chicago could move off. And if they didn't go well, Ben's not taking the heat, and you could get something for Caleb.
All right. There's Colin Cowherd. A couple of things. Number one, talking about the Lions looked awful in the Hall of Fame game. Thank you, John Middlecoff, the co-host, who was like, yeah, but it was their threes. No starters played, and most of the backups didn't play. Oh, no, Nate Lynn jumped off sides. What are we going to do? I mean, come on. I kept it real for you. The Lions didn't look good. Dan Campbell, I love after the game, said we can't turn it over 5 times. Can't commit 8 penalties, no matter who it is. But to sit here and go, the Lions are going to take a step back. Did you watch that Hall of Fame game the other night? They were horrible. None of the regulars were out there, bro. Come on. So saying anything about the Hall of Fame game is ridiculous when discussing the big picture of this season. That's number one. Number two, what does a step back mean in Colin's eyes? I still think this team could go 11-6 and win this division. Is that taking a step back from winning 15 games? It is. But again, the Lions have gone from 3-9 to 12 to 15. What are they going 16-1 or 17-0? I highly doubt it. Have you looked at the schedule? All right. I mean, first 6 road games are Green Bay, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Washington, and Philly. Holy hell. And the Rams and the Vikings and the Bears. Just read you off all the road games. It's not going to be easy. They might take a little step back. But what if they're better? What if they're a better football team in December and January than they were this last year, but don't have the same record? All right. Yes, I think they're going to take a step back based on what we talked about earlier with the offensive line. But what if this defense becomes really, really good? What if we're no longer going, oh man, the defense, see, they can never get to the quarterback, and man, the secondary blows. Remember the start of last year? Oh man, Terran Arnold's a holding penalty every time. Defense still stinks. Fire Aaron Glenn. Remember that? Started last season. Remember when Baker Mayfield lit him up in week 2? Everyone, whoa. I think this defense has a chance to be a whole lot better. So, and this Caleb Williams stuff, the Bears aren't moving off of him yet. If he has a bad year this year, I still think they stick with him for a little while. Ben Johnson's got carte blanche in that town. Yes, the Bears fans have expectations. Yes, the Chicago media thinks they're a playoff team. But to sit here and go, oh yeah, let's already start talking about moving off of the number 1 pick from last year. This is only his second season and first full season. I can't believe I'm defending this guy with Ben Johnson. I think sometimes some of these hot take artists take it a little too far. We'll see how this goes. I cannot wait for the home opener, though. September 14th, when the Bears come to Ford Field. All right, that'll do it for us here on Locked On Lions. Tomorrow, my friend Colton Pouncey from theathletic.com covers the Lions for The Athletic. He'll be heading down to Atlanta, but we're going to talk to him first before he gets on the airplane tomorrow. We'll preview Friday night's game with the Atlanta Falcons. I haven't decided yet what I'm doing for Friday. Do I do a show before? Do you have something after? I haven't decided yet. All right. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody. Checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Back again with Colton tomorrow.